Recently, I've had people ask me about borrowing money out of their retirement plan to fund a portion of, or maybe all, of their down payment. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Mike Lavoie. I am a realtor here in Tampa Bay area with Dalton Wade. My wife Paula and I have been in Tampa, Florida for 30 some years. We absolutely love living here. We've been helping people with possibly their largest transaction they'll ever do in their life, which is the buying and selling of a house. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If this is your first visit here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom there. And if you would hit the notification bell, we will send you a note whenever we are publishing a new video. I want a little disclaimer here. I am not a tax attorney. I am not a CPA. I am not a tax preparer. I am not even an investment advisor anymore, although for 30 some years I was an investment advisor and dealt with this topic quite often. Borrowing money out of a retirement plan is not necessarily a good thing to do. I am sure when I get done telling you this, what I'm going to tell you and get this published, I'm going to be getting nasty grams from every financial advisor on the planet asking me if I have completely lost my mind, telling you that it's okay to borrow money out of your 401k.
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it. What you're looking for, ain't nobody going to help you out there. Jesus can come through that door and he's not going to help you.
And for the most part, they're correct. Not about me losing my mind, but they're correct about borrowing money. You should not do it. That money is set aside and is accumulating for your future, for when you retire. You don't want to take away from that future retirement. But life happens. Let's define a retirement plan. What we're talking about here today is qualified employer-sponsored plans. 401k, 403b, 457 if they're written correctly. What we're not talking about are IRAs. Traditional, rollover, Roth, you name it. If it says IRA, you cannot borrow money out of that. You can use an IRA to buy real estate, but you cannot borrow out of the IRA. Before you do any of this, you need to make sure you check with your HR department to see if you can borrow money out of the plan and what their maximums are. The maximums for the government are 50% of the vested value of your vested portion, or $50,000. And the max you can do on a normal loan is 5 years of a 5-year term. Now with a house, if you're buying a house, you can stretch that out to 30 years, but I wouldn't, that would be unwise to do that. I would do it the minimum amount of years, 5 at the most is what I would shoot for. Financial planning for 95% of the population involves 3 things. Buying some term insurance, saving money like there's no tomorrow, and getting out of debt. Getting out of debt is one of those reasons that I would borrow money or suggest that anybody borrow money out of their retirement plan. If you have $25,000, $30,000, $10,000 in credit card debt that you're paying 15, 18, 21% interest rate on it, it's going to take you forever to pay that off. Even if you did what these TV people and radio personalities are telling you to do, it's called snowballing. Even if you use that system, it's going to take you years, 3 or 4 years to get that debt paid off. You're paying 18%. You're paying that to the bank, the credit card company. Why not take $10,000 or whatever the balance is within reason? I mean, if you've got $10,000 or $15,000 in debt, take $15,000 out of your retirement plan. You're going to have to pay interest back to the retirement plan, but that interest is 4 to 6%. I mean, 6% is a lot less than 18 or 21% to the credit card. The 18% you're paying to the credit card is going to the credit card company. The 6% that you're paying back to the retirement benefit or retirement plan is going to your retirement plan. You're paying yourself back for your money that you borrowed. What's the downside to this? We'll talk about downsides in a minute. Okay, so you've got financial advisors out there that are telling you that you should not buy a house. Some of them are telling you you shouldn't buy a house so you pay cash. Who does that? Maybe Rockefellers. These advisors are telling you to wait and save your money. Well, if you're paying off 18% interest rate on a card, you have to wait till you get done paying that off, so then you can start saving money for down payment. So now you're talking 6 years down the road, 5 years down the road, before you can buy a house. So these same advisors are saying that you need to wait 5 years to buy a house. So you're going to pay rent for 5 years before you buy a house because you can't save the money to put down payment on because you're paying off the 18% credit cards in their little snowball machine that they're talking about. Does that make sense? $2,000 a month for 12 months for 5 years, I think that's $120,000 that you're paying off somebody else's mortgage. How does that work in any planet that you're from? Why not take that money and pay your own mortgage off? Which leads me to reason number 2, why I would suggest to anybody that they borrow money out of their retirement plan, and that would be to put the down payment on a house. Your primary residence, not flipping some property over in Wyoming or wherever. Buying your primary residence. What makes sense on doing this, or why does that make sense? It's called PMI or MIB, depending on how you look at it. FHA mortgages have an insurance. You have to pay for it. If you don't put down 20%, it's called MIP. It's a mortgage insurance protection that you pay to FHA, to pay to your lender, but it's under FHA programs. Conventional loans, if you don't put down 20%, have a PMI, private mortgage insurance, that you pay. And you pay that until the equity in your house gets to be 20%, and then the PMI goes away. On the FHA side, that MIP premium stays there forever, for the length of the mortgage. That premium is going to be $80 to $120, $130 forever. The PMI is going to be about the same premium for 5 years, or till the period of time where you get a 20% equity. Either way, you're paying an extra premium in there for some period of time. If you borrow money from your 401k or your retirement plan, you're going to have to make a payment to them. You have to repay the loan. That loan is going to be repaid at 4%, 6%, whatever that number is, you're going to be putting that back into the account. That duration on that payment is going to be about 5 years. Now, you can go longer because you're buying a house. You can go to the length of the mortgage. You can go to 30 years. My suggestion, if you do this, is to do it for 5 years and try to pay it off quicker if you can. You should be able to, because you don't have credit card debt. So that's the primary reason that you would want to borrow money, is to get rid of the PMI or MIB payment. Your net is going to be about the same because you're going to pay back the loan. You're getting rid of the PMI, but you're increasing your cash flow because you got to pay the loan back. So for a period of time, 4 or 5 years, you're going to be about the same. At the end of the 5 years, or when that loan on that retirement plan is paid off, your payments will drop. Your outflow will drop by that amount. You'll just have the mortgage left. Another reason to borrow out of the retirement plan is it is easy access to cash. You won't have to wait 5 years to build up the cash to do this. That loan does not show up on your credit report. It's between you and the plan administrator. It won't show up in your credit report, so therefore it's not going to affect your debt to equity ratio. Your mortgage broker will probably never see it, and if they do, it really doesn't matter. Well, there's a gimme, there's a gotcha. So we've talked about the gimmies, let's talk about the gotchas. The downside of this, according to ERISA, you cannot borrow You have access to the account up to 50% of the balance of your vested portion, or $50,000, whichever is less. For the most part, you're not going to take out $50,000. It's just you don't want to do it. It is a loan. You're going to have to pay it back. You're going to have to make monthly payments, and your employer will more than likely start a payroll deduction thing for you right out of your paycheck, so you cannot miss a payment. If you leave that employer to go to a different employer, and that new employer will not accept the rollover of that fund, of your money, then you're going to have to pay that thing off. Same thing if you quit working. That note becomes due on the day you leave. And actually, you've got 60 days to pay it. But if you don't pay it, the balance, the IRS is going to come after you. They're going to charge you. It's going to become income. It's a distribution, just like if you've taken the money and gone down the road. It's a distribution, so you're going to have to pay income taxes on it. And if you're less than 59 and a half, you're going to have to pay a 10% excise tax on it. So you really want to pay attention or be careful of what you're doing on this, because you don't want to have a problem with income taxes. Double taxation. That's another issue you're going to hear from these people, from advisors, and they're right. If you take the money out of the plan and you borrow the money, you're getting the money out tax-free. You're not going to owe any money on it, assuming you do all the rules right. That money, when you repay it every month, it's after-tax money now. So when you go down 30 years down the road and you pull that money back out, that money is all taxed again. Okay, did you follow? Money came out tax-free. You make payments, after-tax payments, back into the plan, and then when you pull the money back out, it gets taxed again. It does. There's no two ways about it. In my opinion only, the part that's taxed is the interest. You got the money out tax-free. You had use of the money, right? You put the money back in, yes, with after-tax dollars, but when you pull the money back out, then you're paying taxes on the principal, because you didn't really pay taxes on the money when it came out the first time. The interest is a different animal. That's double taxation. I don't care how you look at it. So double taxation can be an issue depending on how you look at it. Negative number 3, the loss of potential growth on the money. Yes, the stock market may go up, and you would lose, if you took out $10,000, you've got $10,000 in your pocket that you're using, so that $10,000 is not going to grow with the rest of the account. Of course, it's not going to sink with the rest of the account either. The stock market is not guaranteed. You could have a 16% positive one year and a 16% negative the next year. The potential loss is there if the market continues to go up every year for the next 5 years. It could. Who knows? It has over the last 4 or 5, but if you had money in the market early 2020, you saw that puppy drop about 30% in, 3 weeks? You've lost that potential, no doubt about it. But you've had the money in your pocket, you've had a house to live in, you've had the equity growth off of that house, and the equity that you're going to get for the next 30 years, or however long you keep the house. It's kind of a gimme and gotcha thing again. You're going to lose potential on the $10,000, and I'm assuming it's $10,000, but you've gained the house. So, which is the better? And the 4% you're putting back in, or the 6% you're putting back in as part of your payment, that is guaranteed, unlike the stock market. Borrowing money out of a 401k to get a down payment is not necessarily the best idea, but it is a good option. You need to look at all the options. Number one is a gift from a relative. It has to be a gift. It cannot be a loan. There has to be no obligation to pay it back, and they're going to sign a piece of paper sooner or later that says that they gave it to you. Another option is a Facebook GoFundMe account. You can put a GoFundMe account up and ask your friends and relatives on Facebook to donate, $20, $50, $100, whatever they want to donate. That is an option. If you don't have a lot of credit card debt, saving up the money is probably the best bet. But that could take a long period of time. It could take, depending on your circumstances, it could take 5, 6, 8 years. Going back to my comment before about renting, That's not necessarily a good idea. So check with your HR department or whoever takes care of your plan. You want to ask them questions. A couple questions that are very important are, if you create the loan, are you going to be able to continue to deposit money into the account through your payroll deduction plan? Question number 2 is, if the employer is matching dollars on what you put in, will that employer continue to match those dollars? That could sway the decision on what you're going to do. In March of 2020, this year, President Trump signed into law an act. It's called the CARES Act. The CARES Act is a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're going through, and that modified the rules for distributions from an IRA and loans on your retirement plans. The new rules, and you need to make sure check with your tax advisor before you go do anything. The new rules basically say that the limits are raised to $100,000 or 100% of your vested portion. The payment back to the plan does not have to start until next year, which would be 2021. There have been some changes to distributions on IRAs. You might want to take a look at that, but really the IRAs are still taxable on the money coming out for the most part. If this is your first time to visit here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you would. Hit the notification bell as well. We will send you a little note the next time we publish a video. If you liked this video, go ahead and give us the little thumbs up thing down there too. That would be awful nice. If you have any questions or would like to learn some more about buying a house, watch these 2 videos. If you have any questions about Tampa real estate in general, or need some information about Tampa, give us a call, 813-864-6370. Been nice talking to you.